All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, November 16th. We have an 8-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did yesterday, a decent enough night. Our biggest play, yes, it was a sweat, but Donovan Mitchell over 33.5 points plus assists. Brandon Ingram loses on the hook, but you know what? Guys, we've won on the hook this year a couple times, so I really can't complain too much about Ingram. You know, we wanted 20 plus from him, and he ended with 19. But nonetheless, Donovan Mitchell did make us sweat it out, but he came through in the fourth quarter there. Unfortunately, the ride of the day does not come through. Got to drop the womp womp there. Luka had a very good day. John said he's going to have a triple-double, and unfortunately, he finished a little shy of that. He did go for 40-plus points, though. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day, give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. We also track you on the ride of the day tracker, which a link will be with the final plays there as well. You can see here, John now posted on the tracker. In terms of who we have here, LA Adams still atop the leaderboard from a units perspective, and then IAW and straight fire picks from a streak perspective there. We're tracking this all season long, so go ahead and get those hashtag ride of the days in there, and I jump on board with one person's play each and every day, one or more. But what do you say we go ahead and dive into today's slate? Guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get rocking here. We got the Celtics taking on the Clippers for game number one. This is a 3:30 start, so just FYI if you're not aware. Celtics are at home, 4.5-point favorites. I've seen some fives out there as well. This is a Clippers squad that isn't doing all that great this year. They're 4-8 on the season. On the road, just 1-3. Now, against the number, it's kind of even worse, 2-10. The Celtics, on the other hand, I can't be a Celtics fan and kind of brag about this year either, right? 6-7 straight up, 5-8 against the number, 3-3 at home, so nothing all that great. But I do think the lack of perimeter defense on this Clippers team will hurt them in this game. So, as we know, the Celtics, with Jason Tatum, without Jason Tatum, are going to chuck those threes. Number one team in the league in terms of above the break frequency, and I think that kind of comes through today for them. So I'm going to lean towards the Celtics minus the 4.5 points. That total at 221.5 does seem awfully low, but I mean, you have the Celtics, who are the last team in terms of pace so far this season, and the Clippers are like second to last or third to last in terms of pace. So I get why we're looking at a total that is that low. I don't see or envision this game being absolutely up tempo, so I'm going to slightly lean towards the under. The only thing that would keep me off of that is the fact that it is so low, right? Like a 110 game goes over, and that's not many points scored. From a player prop perspective, I do think that we could have some isolation success on the Celtics side of things. So, I mean, you look at someone like Jaylen Brown, who should isolate, but, you know, he's really been thriving in some of these up-tempo games. I just mentioned that this might be a lower tempo game. So maybe someone like Anthony Simons, who will get the spot-up opportunities from the three-point line, but also has the ability to isolate. I don't mind him from a points perspective. His line is at 14.5 right now. His last 6 games, he's hit that in 4 of them. So, yeah, kind of like the idea of him. He's averaging, I believe it's like 16 points over his last 6 games as well. Didn't exactly have the best night in just 22 minutes against the Grizzlies. Only had 6 points. Maybe it's a spot for him to bounce back. All right, next up, we have the Spurs taking on the Kings. Spurs have dropped 2 pretty tough ones in a row now, right? They lose to Golden State in 2 consecutive games. We were on the wrong side of both of those. We took the Spurs in each of those games, and when you look at that, like we said last show, they are in the DMB graveyard, meaning we're going to let them cool off for a little bit before we actually make them a final play, as is Jimmy Butler. His under specifically. I still don't mind the Spurs minus the 8.5 in this spot. I really have not been impressed with what the Kings are doing. Losing by 14 to Minnesota, obviously a decent team, but losing by 33 to Atlanta. They lost by, 16 or something like that to Denver, a good team. Minnesota beat them again, 144 to 117. Like, within a week, it's really hard to lose to a team by, combined 60 points, right? So, twice. So I do think that this is a spot in which, the Spurs get the job done in a bounce back situation. My only thing is, and I've said this, and I don't know, we got a couple disagreements in the comments about it, there is a lot of talent on this Kings side of things, right? Like the fact that they have DeRozan, Sabonis, the fact that they have Zach LaVine, you know, it's like this team does have go-off ability. Even Russell Westbrook's had some good games this year, right? So I do worry about that a little bit. The injury report is going to be something that we want to make sure we keep an eye on today. Victor Wembanyama, questionable. Domantas Sabonis, also questionable. So both starting centers are questionable here. Precious Achiuwa, power forward, also questionable. So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Spurs. I do think they're a little bit more healthy, but obviously if Victor Wembanyama doesn't play, we probably stick away from that. But with them being on the DMB graveyard, it would take, I don't know, it'd take a lot for me to actually roll them as a final play. From a total perspective, I think this one is the type of game that, Sacramento maybe hangs in for the first half, but then by the end of the game, kind of wear out a little bit. So I like the Sacramento team total under. This is a squad that obviously is going to prioritize getting into the paint. San Antonio is very good at defending the paint. Again, this is all with the assumption that Wemby does play. So I like Sacramento team total under. From a player prop perspective, I want to consider something like a DeRozan under in points. Obviously, he's going to shoot from the mid-range most and also in the paint. Like I just mentioned, two really good defensive positions there for the San Antonio Spurs, defending in the paint area as well as mid-range. 35% of their opponents in the mid-range, very good. In the paint, 39.5, and then at the restricted area in the circle, 63.5. So everywhere that DeMar DeRozan likes to score from, this team should be pretty damn sound. All right, real quick, before we do move on to the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Chalkboard. They got 2 free squares for new users here. Josh Allen for the early game, and then Sunday Night Football, which should be a very good game, Philly and the Lions, right? They have a Jalen Hurts square. Guys, they're also going to match your first deposit up to $100. You put in $100, they give you a free 100. You put in 50, you get a free 50. You get the deal. You could do the math. We're all mathematicians here, right? Sign up using the code GUYBOSTON, GUYBOSTON. There'll also be a link down in the description, as well as the pinned comment. I've been having a blast on Chalkboard. I think you guys will too if you have not tried it out. If it's available in your state, go sign up today. Again, that link will be down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Let's jump back into these games. You know you got a good one on your hands when Washington is favored by 2.5 points. They take on the Kings here. Yeah, needless to say, with NFL football going on and a few other games that we really like today, I don't think that this is the creme de la creme, our focus type of a game today, but we could talk about it rather quickly. You have the 1-11 Wizards taking on the 1-11 Brooklyn Nets. Both teams, I believe, are really bad against the spread, too. We don't have those numbers we can pull up really quick. Brooklyn 4-8 against the number. Washington 2-10. Pick your poison here, right? I'm probably just going to lean towards the Nets just because they're getting points and because it's such a toss-up game. But I will say, no Cam Thomas takes away a massive, massive scoring load from them. So I'm going to lean towards the under regardless. I know we have 2 really, really bad defenses, but we also have 2 really, really bad offenses. And with them not playing at a crazy high pace, and honestly, even in transition offensively, Brooklyn 46.2% field goal percentage and Washington 48.8. Those are 2 really bad numbers in terms of being able to score in transition. So yeah, even if they do start running and all that, I can't see this being the most efficient game offensively. Give me the under in this spot. Let's go ahead and move on. All right, we got the Pels taking on the Warriors here. We just kind of talked about the Warriors. They've been playing decent enough basketball, at least in their last couple games, right? They took 2 against the Spurs here. On the season, there's 8-6. On the road, though, 3-6. They're undefeated at home, but have a losing record on the road here. But they're playing the Pelicans. So how much good can we say about the Pelicans, right? Not exactly so much. And this Pelicans team struggles at defending the paint, which may or may not be all that important to this Warriors squad, but they also certainly struggle at defending the perimeter, which obviously is very important to this Warriors squad, right? 3rd in terms of above the break frequency, 5th in terms of corner 3 frequency, and 4th in terms of points per game from beyond the line. So I think this is a Warriors spot. Unfortunately, that 10.5 points is a hell of a lot. I think that we get more nitty-gritty with player props in this one. I don't mind Steph, but obviously blow up potentially may not play. One spot that I like, and it's plus money right now, Moses Moody over 2.5 threes. You can get it for plus 120. I think the attempts will be there. There's been a couple games this year where he's already shot double-digit 3-point attempts. He can make 3 of them today against a Pelicans team that really does struggle. In terms of where we have him modeled out for an attempts, Moses Moody, I believe we have him taking 8 or 9 threes. Yeah, we have him going 3 for 9 today, which if he gets 9 attempts, I'm confident that he makes 3 and we're getting plus money for that. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's definitely a spot that we'd look at. And again, it's kind of theorized behind the idea that the Warriors will play well from the perimeter. He's the number 2 guy in terms of catch and shoot threes attempted per game. Love to see that, especially when the Pelicans struggle at the perimeter and struggle mightily against catch and shoot jump shooters. So I like that spot. In terms of a total, maybe a Warriors team total over. In fact, I might even prefer that a little bit more than that minus 10.5, right? Because they are on the road. They haven't been as good of a team on the road necessarily. 10.5 points is a lot, but you toss in the idea of, just them scoring a bunch of points. Even if New Orleans somehow does stay involved in this game, they could still score a decent amount of points and hit their team total over. So yeah, I guess we'd say team total over and Moody kind of at the top, and then maybe a look at the Warriors minus 10.5. This is a bad Pelicans team. Rockets taking on the Magic. You may look at that spread and think, wow, that's a decent amount of points to lay in to give this Orlando squad. But no Banchero for this Magic team obviously throws a pretty severe wrench into their plans. They just won 3 straight games. Portland, who actually isn't that easy of a opponent nowadays. They did beat the Knicks, which is obviously a good win, and then they beat the Brooklyn Nets. They didn't cover in that game, but obviously that was the game to put them over 500 on the season. Maybe they're starting to turn things around, but again, no Banchero in this spot. Houston's won, I believe it's 8 of their last 9 games, if I'm not mistaken. They're also 8-3 against the number. Now they've been playing at a decently high pace, which is a little shocking to me. I don't know if I expected them to kind of do that, but I guess with Amen Thompson technically at the point, your team will run. But yeah, with Şengün and Durant, kind of half-court players, a little shocked that they are a top 10 team in terms of pace. And I bring that up because they're 8-2 or 8-3 this year, or 9-2 actually, I believe it is 9-2 to the over. Usually you think of the Rockets and it's more of like, again, that half-court-esque type of a team, especially being led by guys like Şengün and Durant. I think this could be a spot, especially without Banchero, where we see some pace behind this game. So I do lean slightly to the over at 226.5. If Banchero was playing, this would be an easy spot for me to look at the Magic at plus 8.5. I don't think we'd be getting an 8.5 if Banchero was there. Probably more like a 5.5 or 6.5. I'm going to say Orlando gets the job done here. If they can just focus all of their sort of defensive efforts, and it's obviously a very, very good defensive team. If they can focus their defensive efforts on Franz Wagner, which I do think, Amen Thompson, Okogie, Durant, these guys can cover him. Desmond Bane and Jalen Suggs, I don't think are good enough to compete with the efficiency that this Rockets team is bringing to the table, right? At home this season, number 1 team offensive efficiency-wise, and number 2 just on the year. So, yeah, both teams should play decent enough defense, but again, I think that we'll have a little bit more pace than we project. So give me an over, but the Rockets with a chance to pull away in this one, minus 8.5. From a player prop perspective, I think points in the paint could come, I don't want to say easily, but fairly easily in this one, and that screams Thompson. It screams Alperen Şengün to me. So those are 2 guys that I would consider in terms of their points. In terms of what we have from, their lines right now, obviously Şengün, his line is going to be very, very high, as is Thompson. It's getting up there, right? I remember a week ago we were getting Amen Thompson at, 13.5, 14.5. Now he's up to 18.5. Şengün's probably still the play that I would like here at 20.5 or 21.5. Last time he played this Magic team, which was, I believe, actually just a couple. When do they play them? They played, let's see. I guess no, that's a little while ago. He did have 22 points against him. I have that. My notes are a little messed up there. So, hey, just do that again. Get 22 points and we're cruising. That's funny. I have written down here that he had 22 points last time they played on November 16th, 2025. That's today. I mean, did I write down and see the future? Maybe, just maybe. You know what, for good luck, comment future if you made it this far into the video. Let's keep going here. Next up, we have the Mavs taking on the Blazers here. Injuries on the Mavs side of things. Still no Kyrie or Dante Exum. Anthony Davis listed as questionable in this one. And then PJ Washington, also on the injury report, is listed as probable. But obviously, if he doesn't play, that's another kind of big hit to this squad. Portland, no major injuries to note. This Portland team did start the season pretty well. We even kind of just referenced it earlier, right? They're not exactly like the easiest game to just walk all over. They have lost 3 of their last 4. They played Miami, decent enough team. Orlando, decent enough team. Beat the Pelicans by like 8, right? And then lost to Houston by a decent chunk of points. I think it was like 24. So they've been playing decent enough basketball. I mean, on the year, they're 6-5-1 against the number, 9-3 to the over. On the road, 3-4, but this Dallas team is 2-7 this season at home, and they've only covered in, I think, 33 or 37% of games at home. So this is probably a spot to consider Portland. They are the healthier team, and I do believe they're the better team right now, right? I mean, their offensive efficiency is miles better than Dallas. I will give Dallas the defensive credit. They're the better defensive team. I think I'm confident in saying that. But the problem is we're looking at, a Dallas team that's might be without a couple of their better defenders, Anthony Davis being one of them, and then even PJ Washington, right? So not exactly looking to back them fully from a defensive perspective without Anthony Davis specifically. So I like Portland in this spot. Total at 234.5. Dallas probably will try to keep this game a little bit slower, especially, not having some of their main guys, or at least definitely not having one of them, and potentially no PJ Washington either. I don't mind the idea of an under. We've seen Portland, I know I mentioned 9-3 to the over here, but we've seen them slow things down at times, right? And, when they play defense in transition, they're actually a decent defense transition as well. I think it's just above 52% to their opponents in transition. In Dallas, they are 12th in terms of pace, so they may try to run, and Portland may be able to stop them, right? So I think even if this game kind of, you turn the knob towards let's go up tempo, there may not be a lot of efficiency on either end coming out of that. So I like the idea of an under 234.5. I probably would play Portland before the under, if I'm being honest, but that's just where my head is at right now. And then I don't really have any player props in this one that I'm absolutely liking. I mean, you could target the perimeter for Dallas. Actually, excuse me, target the paint for Portland. Yeah, and the perimeter for Dallas in a sense, because I do think that they have some shooters, and obviously with no Anthony Davis, they probably lose the paint war overall. But in terms of in the paint guys for Portland, you're looking at maybe Denny Avadabadu. Maybe that's a look there, but haven't really dug and sunk my teeth into player props in this game just yet. Keep an eye on the final plays, like I always say. Suns taking on the Hawks. Two kind of surprise teams in a sense, right? This Suns team has now won, I believe, 4 straight games in 5 of their last 6. And Atlanta has won 4 of their last 5, I think, too. Whatever. Either way, both these squads are playing some decent basketball right now, and now they meet, right? Suns getting a 1.5 at home is interesting. I would peg them actually as the slightly better team here. I think that they should be able to score from the perimeter big time. That's going to be guys like, obviously Booker, even Dylan Brooks, who's been taking a ton of catch and shoot, Royce O'Neal as well. So I'm going to lean Suns. I'm not going to lie, if this was Hawks as the underdog, I may pivot towards the Hawks. This team's been doing really well, and Jalen Johnson has been phenomenal. I will say, though, I think Phoenix can step up and play some defense down low with a healthy Mark Williams, who he is playing today, should be decent enough too. And they do have some bodies that can play big down there. So I think that obviously Jalen Johnson kind of being the leader of this team with no Trae Young has been a successful sort of look, right? But ultimately, his superpowers per se may be kind of muted here. Now, I will say, this total is interesting because it's at 230.5. I've seen some 229.5s out there. If this game gets going up tempo, I think that favors Atlanta big time. The thing is, Phoenix is very good at stopping games in which they start to go up tempo, and they'll bring it down to earth, right? And so far this year, they've only hit the over in 28% of their home games. So I like the idea of Phoenix at home here, slowing things down to their level and winning this one. So give me Phoenix as well as the under. Like I said, Royce O'Neal, maybe a Dylan Brooks look from a threes perspective right now. Those guys' lines, I believe, are, let's pull those up. Yeah, both 2.5. Dylan Brooks is -104, Royce O'Neal -128. So I think you have decent enough value on both sides there. Dylan Brooks has obviously been shooting a lot of threes. Has he been all that tremendous at it? Honestly, I would say for what he is, yes. He last game against the Pacers here went 3 for 7. The game before that against Dallas, he went 3 for 8. And then Royce O'Neal on the other end, yes, he does have a few more games in which he's gone a little berserk, right? 4 threes, 5 threes, that type of thing. So anything with volume behind these guys today, which I do think they'll focus on, and these guys are kind of specialists in that, I do think that we have some success. Just to rant on those two plays even more, maybe there's a look at like somewhat of a Brooks and Royce O'Neal SGP where we can knock them both down to like 2 threes, something like that. That definitely seems like it could have legs in my brain. My last game on today's slate, we have the Jazz taking on the Bulls. Bulls 6-5. They started off the season 5-0, right? So realistically, not exactly all that great in their last few games. They are 1-5 in their last 6. The Jazz also are at 1-4 in their last 5, so not like either one of these squads are playing all that great. I will say this Bulls team on the road is like a whole different animal for all the wrong reasons. They're 1-4 on the road this year, 5-1 at home. They've only covered in 40% of their road games. They've been pretty good against the number team, whereas Utah has covered in 83.3% of their home games. I will say this though, Utah is getting, bigger numbers at times than just 4.5. But based on, how this Bulls defense has looked, I can't really sit here and back them. I mean, Lauri Markkanen should have a decent enough game, right? Being able to score in the paint and from downtown. You have guys like Sivi Mileychuk, or however you say his name. I can't even pronounce my own name. He should have a decent game if he's able to hit some threes, right? This is a Bulls team that does struggle defensively against the catch and shoot. So maybe those are 2 player props to look at. But yeah, it might be a little crazy. I'll sound the psycho alert alarm. Jazz not getting a big number, but I don't mind the plus 4.5. Now, I think this game could be somewhat of a track meet. I just worry that, yeah, did the odds makers beat us to the punch, right? This is a very high number at 243.5. But I mentioned the Bulls' lack of defense. I really can't sit there and tell you that the Jazz have a good defense either. So, hell, I'll lean towards the over 243.5. This could easily be like a 124 to 120 type of a game, and everybody wins, right? Bulls win, Jazz cover the 4.5, and the over ends up hitting. But, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Enjoy your Sundays, your NFL Sundays. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.